Let's start. Q Jump, 2021, 1-1. Page 54 number 1. One morning, before getting into the shower to get ready for work, I mentioned to Jim Sr. that I had a shoe that needed to be repaired and asked if he knew where I could take it. Jim Sr. My father-in-law asked to see the shoe, so I gave it to him, and then I began getting ready for work. I am not one to spend a long time in the shower. I am out and ready to leave the house in about 30 minutes. 30. When I walked to the door to leave, I noticed my shoe in a bag on the counter. Apparently, while I was busy getting ready, Jim Sr. got into his truck and took my shoe to the cobbler, waited while it was repaired, and brought it back home. Jim Sr. I was amazed. I hadn't even asked him to do it. I only asked for the name of a place I could take it, but he kindly got my shoe repaired. It really made my day. Page 54 number 2. When photography came along in the 19th century, painting was put in crisis. 19. The photograph, it seemed, did the work of imitating nature better than the painter ever could. Some painters made pragmatic use of the invention. There were impressionist painters who used a photograph in place of the model or landscape they were painting. But by and large, the photograph was a challenge to painting and was one cause of paintings moving away from direct representation and reproduction to the abstract painting of the 20th century. 20. Since photographs did such a good job of representing things as they existed in the world, painters were freed to look inward and represent things as they were in their imagination, rendering emotion in the color, volume, line, and spatial configurations native to the painter's art. Page 55 number 4. Those who argue against keeping animals as companions argue that the practice is motivated by a selfish human need to dominate and control members of other species. To support their argument, opponents of companion animal keeping point to the many instances where people treat their animals in a patronizing or controlling manner, substitute animal affection for human affection, or use an animal as a surrogate child. That many animals are abused and/or neglected by their owners is a documented fact. The view that keeping animals as companions may violate the right of animals is further supported by the fact that the laws in most societies regard animals as property. The manner in which animals are kept and treated is considered to be largely within the discretion of the owner, and there are few legal limits placed on how humans treat the animals they own. Page 56 number 5. Keep in mind that while coaching our children to future success, we can't forget about the present. Understanding how what you are doing today benefits you today and not just somewhere down the road is an essential part of personal motivation. Sometimes seeing the big picture isn't enough. In fact, the big picture can sometimes be overwhelming. For example, when writing the manuscript for this book, I spent many a morning procrastinating because I could only see the big picture. The big picture overwhelmed me. The ability to break a goal down into manageable pieces is important to motivation. When I saw that if I only did some work every day, I would eventually reach my goal of finishing an enormous project, I was motivated to do a little bit every day. I began to enjoy the journey of writing when I saw how writing every day benefited me today and not just at some time in the future. In that sense, be careful using the big picture as motivation. Page 56 number 6. Although listeners to a concert may experience a degree of arousal in common, the way in which the music is presented makes possible a greater range of individual reactions than can be expected if everyone is taking part in music which is familiar to them. Some research indicates that there is some measure of agreement between listeners about the emotional significance of particular musical works, but this agreement only applies to the most general features of the work in question. Even on the most public occasions, I cannot be entirely sure that my neighbor is feeling exactly what I feel. It is possible, though unlikely, that he is laughing at funerals, sneering at coronations, feeling malice at weddings. At the end of an orchestral concert of music which has no external reference, it is more difficult to be sure of what other members of the audience are feeling. We may all applaud enthusiastically, but I cannot be certain that we are sharing the same experience. Page 57 Number 7. Email is not radically different from traditional written business correspondence. Rather, email employs an electronic medium to convey the message instantly. For the busy reader, short sentences are easier to write and read. Long sentences take more time and have a greater tendency to bury or delay main messages and details. Readers are more likely to trash email that never gets to the point or is characterized by excessive mechanical errors and confusing meaning. Clarity, precision, and appropriate tone are essential to ensuring that your email is well received and understood by all readers. Before sending any email message, whether internal or external, always take the time to edit for content and structure. Page 57 Number 8. In European cultures, the trend in food habits had always been towards sophistication in food preparation and consumption. In contrast to the European cultures, developments in early American food habits have been more towards simplification of meal preparation methods rather than sophistication and expansion. The European food habits of the 18th and 19th centuries were driven by the sophistication in cooking arts advanced by the chefs. 1819. In contrast, American food habits of the 18th and 19th centuries were driven by simplicity in preparation and efficiency in mass production. 1819. This was the reflection of the political system of the land. In early Europe, the political systems were feudalistic and ruled by the royal families. Here spending money on luxury goods to publicly display economic power was a norm and expected. The democratic political system of America did not encourage indulgence in excessive food consumption by their national leaders since it symbolized concentration of power. The end. Good job.